Hello, everybody. Welcome to I think what we're calling it for the time being is a Nebula fan battle cast.
Hell yeah.
Welcome to the NFBC, where we are going to talk about Skull Kid from Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask versus Nightmare from Soul Calibur. And Planf, why are we talking about this matchup today?
We are talking about this because as part of one of the membership tiers that I'm blanking on the name of at this moment, you get to submit a matchup to Nebula Theater to do a debate on, where I will then collaborate with Fan Battle Cast to do that. I don't know where I was going with that. Part of what I liked about the pitch calls from Death Battle and all that stuff before was getting matchups out there. And just like generally, because now we have presentations and conversations that go over a lot of details we wouldn't get before. And a lot more matchups became popular because of it. So I kind of was thinking, like, I can't make a million episodes, but I can try to get more conversation going around some maybe more niche ideas. This is not a niche idea. This is just the one we were able to do first. This is the one that had all the knowledge already. But yeah, one of the membership tiers, and I think it's the second one, I can't remember the name of, lets you submit a matchup to us. And this one was submitted by Pin?
I believe it was Pin, yes. The homie Pin.
Fuck that guy. No, I'm kidding.
Pin is in chat.
Pin is not in chat.
I thought I saw him.
There's Ping.
Oh, nope. I just saw it wrong.
Wow.
That's crazy.
This is why
Box seat holders is what the tier is.
Box seat holders, thank you.
So if you want to be the two old man Muppets yelling at us and telling us what debates to do, that is the pin. Not the pin, that is the tier to get.
Yeah. We're doing good.
You got a matchup you want us to talk about? Grab a membership in Nebula Theater and we'll talk about it.
Karate to the moon isn't real.
Can I get a membership for free?
If you help with this, why not? No, I'm kidding.
No. Oh, well.
I barely got a membership. I don't even technically have a membership. I just have like a pseudo membership so I can do my job.
I have a membership.
Thank you, Kai. Speaking of Kai and Moloch and everyone else, I am your host, as per sometimes, Santi Sherm. With us today, the Nebula Theater goat himself, we have Plimph.
Hello, I am Sherm's boss.
And with us today on jury, we reached out to some of the best of the best among the Fan Battle Cast jurors. We have Moloch and Kai.
Hi.
Yeah, I don't know. Is Kai really among the best?
I'm not, but it's pity.
He is saying Ocarina of Time over Majora's Mask, so that does put some things into question.
I have the sign in the wrong direction. It's meant to be Majora's Mask over Ocarina of Time.
That's crazy. I will say Majora's Mask is like 10% better than Ocarina of Time for me, so like it's not like it's an incomparable thing. Like they're both similar in quality to me. What's up with your headphones though? That's what I really want to know. Why do you have like the cone head headphones?
Hold on. Can I answer this? Is this for specifically because if you actually wear headphones and you keep it on the center of your head, you can actually indent your head. Like your skull will indent with the headphones. Is it for that purpose?
It is not.
You ruined it. Are those the PlayStation one?
I guess that'll do it. Hey, Gilded Data just became a box seat holder.
Hey!
So maybe Gilded Data will be telling us what matchup to do in the near future.
Nice.
Probably.
Gilded Data, fun fact, is named after the Gilded Sword from Majora's Mask, so I'm sure they'll be having fun with this cast, yeah. So I guess we can just kind of jump right in. Let's start talking about Majora and Soul Edge. Now, Plimph, you said instead of the 60-second format, you want to give it a more general overview of the characters?
Yeah, just like a slight rundown. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first, and then I'll follow your lead.
Most of the reason for this is that Nightmare and Soul Calibur in general is a little bit hard to understand. There's a lot of lore. Like I think there's like this 30-minute video out that is just the lore before the very first game. Like, there's a lot that goes into it that is not said in games. So to understand what Nightmare is a little complicated. In the death battle between Guts and Nightmare is also a little weird with that, because they don't depict Nightmare as what he would actually be depicted as. So he initially starts out as this guy just went fucking ham in the shop, right? Just fucking crafting a badass sword. He's just started as a passion project from this one blacksmith. For some reason, he went so hard that the more people that the sword killed, the more people that the sword wanted to kill. And it started like transforming itself into this like evil blade that wanted blood, eventually evolving into a form that was that would steal souls, right? Which is where the Soul Edge title comes from. It was originally wielded by a pirate named Cervantes, and then that was shattered. And then it was also, and then Cervantes was kind of like killed in quotation marks. And then it was picked up by a character named Siegfried after Siegfried accidentally killed his dad. Don't ask me how you accidentally do that. Siegfried accidentally killed his dad. He was like, it wasn't me. It was the sword that did it. And then he picked up the sword for whatever reason. He was like tempted by it. And it ended up bonding to his hand and corrupting his body. When you beat him in Soul Calibur 2, he turns into Inferno. And I believe it's also a similar thing in Soul Calibur 3. But Inferno is just the soul that resides, or the spirit that resides within Soul Edge. After he is not bonded with Siegfried anymore, Inferno, who is the soul, possesses the body with the help of a guy named Zosalamel, which is another fucking story, merges with the armor and becomes its own entity. So Inferno is now just the armor of Nightmare, right? That's why the fire form of Inferno doesn't show up in later games, because it is just the spirit now. And it needs to constantly be killing and absorbing souls in order to exist. Soul Calibur 3 happens, and the whole story is based on fragments. Soul Calibur 2 is also based on this a little bit. It's based on the fragments of Soul Edge trying to come together to recomplete the soul, remake Soul Edge, because it was shattered at the end of Soul Calibur 2. It's also a little complicated, because there's another thing called Soul Calibur that is technically made from Soul Edge, which also is like the negative force. They're made from the same thing, but they could cancel out each other. At the end of Soul Calibur 2, Soul Edge is kind of like sealed by Soul Edge is sealed by Soul Calibur. They're like in this deadlock now, where they're both sealing each other's power. They can't do anything. It gets unleashed by Zosalamel, and then that's when everything happens and Nightmare becomes his own thing. He recreates the sword. It's now uber times more powerful than it used to be. And I believe that's the important bits, because I think everything gets retconned at a certain point. That part gets a little blurry. But right now, the important thing to know is Soul Calibur is a strong fucking sword, and Inferno does not exist right now. It is not really a factor in the debate. He's just the being the soul that makes Soul Edge exist, essentially, or Nightmare exist. It's very complicated.
Yeah, that was a lot of lore all at once. So
the only reason I say this is because the death battle makes it confusing, because they have Nightmare die and then Inferno come out. Sorry, not Inferno. The guy from
Mortal Kombat,
whatever that,
Blaze.
Yeah, Killer Instinct.
Or Killer Instinct Cinder, sorry.
Yeah. The guy from Killer Instinct comes out, and then he has to kill that. That's not how it is. That Inferno is inside the armor. It would only come out if the body died, but there's no body anymore. So I just want to clarify, Nightmare is his own thing. He is not going to have like a fire form come out, and anything attributed to that fire form would not necessarily count. Also, Zosalamel, new to me, because I'm just a casual player. This guy is just a dude that reincarnates forever. Why? I don't know. His whole goal is, I want to die and stay died. All right? I'm just like, who are you? Where did you come from? Why did you somehow have all this power in this OP Subaru Natsuki fucking Return by Death bullshit out of nowhere in a series that has nothing like that before? So it's very complicated. Anyway, less complicated is Majora.
Our story begins, as all good stories do, with dead children.
Awesome.
So Skull Kid is a forest spirit, which are implied to be children that died in the forest. So just like this is just to give a baseline, this is the character we're starting off with. Skull Kid was a lonely little forest spirit who was able to make some acquaintances with the Kokiri of the Deku Forest, but he wasn't very good at making friends. But he was able to make friends with a couple of fairies, Tattle and Tail, and they just got into all sorts of mischievous pranks, mischievous misadventures. At one point, jumping a traveling salesman and stealing one of his masks. And this would begin the horrible, horrible events that would follow, because this mask was no normal mask. This was Majora's mask. Title drop. Majora's mask.
Wait. Majora's mask was just from some random shopkeep?
Yes.
Oh, the Happy Mask Salesman is his name. He is an enigmatic figure. We don't know too much about him, but he is a collector of masks. And it's kind of implied that if you read between the lines, it seems like he is a traveler between worlds. And he's actually the one that stole the mask from where it was initially sealed away. So he's kind of like, in a weird way, he's like the bad guy of an Indiana Jones movie, messing with artifacts that he shouldn't be messing with. But that's like not explicitly stated. That's kind of just subtext. But yeah. So the Skull Kid beats up the Tomb Raider boss, steals the artifact, and becomes a god. Majora, using the body of Skull Kid, then plays some games with the world of Termina. But as the cosmic eldritch deity that you become once you embrace the face of Majora, he really just like fucks everyone up and no one's having a good time anymore. He like freezes people to death. He like warps space and time around. He's like the big thing everyone knows, the moon crashes into Earth. He slams the moon into Earth as a way to play games. He seals away all the guardians. He just does horrible, like, you know that one manga author like who did Uzumaki and did all sorts of like weird eldritch stuff. That's kind of what Skull Kid does to people. He just like does like creepy eldritch stuff to them. And I guess I don't want to go into too much detail about what he does to people, because that will kind of spoil the hack segment I'll be talking about later. But basically, Majora is just this godchild that plays games until eventually he plays a game with a kid that has the courage and the hero spirit to take him down once and for all, which is the Hero of Time. Fresh off of one adventure already, the sequel, he was forced to deal with the lost child of the moon, Skull Kid, being possessed by Majora's Mask. To go into detail about which is which, Skull Kid is the Skull Kid, as I discussed earlier, a forest spirit, wears the mask of Majora and takes on the form of Majora, basically. Because masks are kind of mildly transformative. The Skull Kid is kind of sort of in control, but also it seems like Majora is also kind of sort of in control. Because it's like doing stuff that only Skull Kid would do, but it's also only doing stuff Majora would do. This only works if it's like they're both playing a little bit of a part in the whole shebang. It seems if I had to pick one, Skull Kid's a little bit more in control than not. Until the very end of the game, when you're able to stop the moon from crashing into the planet, Majora's Mask takes full control. And even throws Skull Kid's body off of it because it had absorbed so much negative energy from those 3 days of chaos that it became powerful enough that it didn't need a host anymore and could fight you as just a mask. So I guess fundamentally the mask is the most important part of this, more so than Skull Kid's body. But yeah, that is the long and short of Skull Kid, the main antagonist of The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Do we kind of just want to get into like debate stuff now, Plimp?
Yeah. We can start going through some stuff. Where do we want to start? I'd say equipment or abilities. I don't think either have much equipment.
Majora's Mask is a piece of equipment, technically.
Yeah. So
I guess Majora's equipment would be the body of Skull Kid. That's his one piece of equipment.
The piece of equipment Nightmare has is just the Soul Edge, which is also himself. So abilities,
they are the equipment.
Correct.
I think it's a bit weird to start because I feel like they have very different fighting styles. So it's not like we're going to talk about who's the more experienced swordsman of the two. It's Nightmare because he's the swordsman.
Yeah.
So yeah, it feels weird because I feel like Majora is...
real quick, if you spam stuff, I will just mute you in the comments. I've seen the same comment like 4 times. So please stop doing that.
I feel like Nightmare is like a cool demonic swordsman, whereas like Majora is like a reality warper, mischievous guy. So it's hard for me to like say like, let's talk about this aspect because they don't really. I feel like they don't really the Venn diagram of their abilities. There's not like a ton of crossover to talk about.
Yeah.
I guess I could go over like an advantage I think Majora has over Nightmare.
Do it.
I think one advantage Majora has over Nightmare is just like the hacks he has. Like when Link first shows up to him, like he pulls up to him because Majora is actually the first enemy you see in the game. Majora's like, well, first Majora steals Link's horse, which is a dick move. And then when Link gives chase to get his horse back, Majora's like, haha, I'm going to play a game with you. And then he turns Link into a Deku Scrub, which is like a very small plant entity. Young Link's only like 3, maybe 4 feet tall. And this Deku Scrub's like half the size. So we're like dealing with like Santa Claus elf size creature who can only blow bubbles and it cannot fight anything. So like Majora's like first instinct is fight is just like, you're not you anymore, you're something else. So like I guess like my first question is what would Nightmare do if Majora just turned him into a little wooden Christmas elf that can only blow bubbles instead of sword fighting? Because Link has a sword and he just can't access it once he's been transformed. The sword is like gone.
I guess the first question is, does Nightmare have any resistances to that kind of warping?
Nightmare actively shifts its own body constantly. Okay. And it has other forms, so I doubt trying to transmute it would do much. Also, the biggest fuck you in that is that he turned Link into... Actually, I don't know. Never mind. I don't know if that's confirmed, if he actually got turned into the Deku Butler's son.
It's almost certainly confirmed.
Okay. So he turned someone into their dead son, knowing full well that when Link showed up to the Deku Palace, the guy would look at him and be like, you look just like my son.
Yeah.
It's so fucked up.
Yeah, the way like Majora turns Link into the Deku Scrub specifically is he takes the soul of the dead Deku Scrub and then he like throws that soul at Link and like that soul turns Link into the Deku Scrub. And then the way Link has to untransform is to learn the song that will heal the soul of the Deku Scrub. And then at that point, the Deku Scrub soul is turned into a mask, which Link can then use to transform back and forth between his normal form and the Deku Scrub.
I forgot how painful it looks, by the way, when Link takes off and puts on the masks. Like,
yeah, Link's not having a good time in this game.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, every time you put it on, like, Link's, like, screaming.
Oh my god.
But Nightmare has just resisted that type of... maybe not the exact type of transmutation, but he has altered his body into multiple different forms before. So I don't think... that's why his body changes between games, right? He starts out just kind of looking like the Siegfried. In the very next game, he has morphed into this more like demonic looking thing where the middle, like his abdomen, is now like this glowing energy. In the next game, he has a completely different form and stuff like that. So I don't think it would do much, honestly.
I'll have some more to say about that, but we can save that for later. Kind of just talk about what they have access to. A similar hack he has that isn't like necessarily transmutation, but is also like depowering, is he looks at the Great Fairies. And in Zelda, Great Fairies are like minor deities. They're usually the most powerful person in the room, and they're only surpassed when it comes to like the Ganondorf or main villain of the game, or like the princess's raw power. Like once we get past the characters with like main protagonist plot armor, the Great Fairies are like the top dog in terms of magic power. Majora looks at these Great Fairies and is like, fuck you. And then he splits them into like 20 smaller Navi fairies. And then like these Navi fairies are like so weak that they can't even like escape a bubble. Like not like a magical bubble, like a bubble of soap and water that they get put into. And like they are like these incredibly powerful, like world altering people. Like their magic is incredibly powerful. And then Majora like just splits them into a bunch of smaller fairies that can't do anything on their own, and you have to help them come back together so they can reform themselves. So even if like that's another type of hacks where like he could potentially just like depower Majora and turn him into like a bunch of like chess pieces or something, and they'd have to come together and reform into Soul Edge or whatever it is.
So in Soul Calibur 3, it gives a lot of context to stuff like that. Characters like Taki failed to seal the power of the Soul Edge blatantly. The Soul Edge is not the only enchanted weapon in the Soul Calibur universe. The gods, I don't know about, one of them is a Filipino woman who they only say wind god, but I don't know who the actual wind god is in this context. But the Greek gods are very much a thing within this, and even Hephaestus, I think her name is. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Hephaestus, I think.
The god of the forge. Okay.
Correct. Even her warriors and the weapons that she made were unable to stop or seal the Soul Edge. The only thing that was able to do it was the Soul Calibur. But in that case, it wasn't that it sealed it. It's that their powers legitimately just nullify each other, putting them into, I think it was called a soul lock, where they were constantly hitting each other with the same hacks, essentially, which put them in a stalemate. It didn't actually like stop the power. It was more like a clashing abilities that just neither side would give. In terms of like, let's say shattering it, part of Soul Calibur 2 was characters being imbued with pieces of the Soul Edge after it was shattered in Soul Calibur 1. Some people had these pieces in their body. Some people had found them like Necrid. But by Soul Calibur 3, when everything was coming back together after the sword was... Soul Calibur 3 to Soul Calibur 4, I should say. After all the Soul Edge and the Soul Calibur were separated and they became their own swords again, the pieces of Soul Edge started being like pulled towards Soul Edge itself, like the main body, and to reform the blade in a stronger form than it was prior, because the people holding on to the different pieces of Soul Edge had like fed it different souls, so each piece was stronger than when it was broken, and it all came together and reforged the sword in a stronger form. So even if like something like what happened with the Great Fairy and it got shattered into pieces and sent all over, it still has the capacity of reforging itself back together.
But how long would that take?
When Inferno took the body and was finally unleashed as Nightmare, it was a pretty immediate process. Like as soon as the swords were taken off and the human aspect of Nightmare exited, it was almost an immediate pulling towards each other. And even the ones that didn't come, like the people who were strong enough to like hold their piece back, still were corrupted by it because of just Soul Edge's natural corruptive nature. The corruption that the Soul Edge has is crazy. you might not even need to be near the sword to not be corrupted by it. Characters like Keelik, who are like brought up to be this nice, wholesome guy, just from being around a little piece of it, made himself accidentally kill everybody, and he had to go on like this, like, I mean, his whole family, right? Like this guy, Soul Calibur, especially the end of 4, nobody is happy. This wholesome guy did horrible things, and he had to go through like years and years and years of training with a guy named Edgemaster. That's his name. In order to learn to... Edgemaster's a horrible name, by the way, just to say.
Yeah,
but
I was going to say that. Yeah,
I wasn't going to say anything. I had a physical reaction.
Edgemaster had to train Keelik to resist this by using a whole list of ways to do it. And even after he did this training, he still failed in terms of not being corrupted. He didn't get corrupted as badly. He didn't lose control, but he still got corrupted, and he had to go back and train more. What's important about that is characters like Edgemaster can fight... I can't remember his name, but he has an owl for a head because he pissed off the gods by killing like some of their people bestowed by their powers. And I think it was Ares. It was like, you're going to look like a motherfucking bird now. So the top half of his body is a bird, and he fought people who are fully imbued with the power of the gods, which includes a character like... I don't know if you guys know Soul Calibur. Do you guys know... I think his name is Astrid.
Yeah,
vaguely.
He is a golem created by followers of Ares, who after his first defeat then was recreated by Ares himself and imbued with all of his power. And these are gods that exist on like... their power is like just crazy scale, right? Able to manipulate worlds, universe, stuff like that. I'm not saying that Astrid is this strong, but being imbued by a piece of that power is still crazy. And even then, he was still that fucking godfather was still corrupted by the Soul Edge itself.
So what does like corruption do?
It essentially turns you mad and or forces you to wield Soul Edge yourself. Like a lot of Soul Edge's followers are people who were corrupted by the sword, except Tira. She's a little strange though. Essentially like just manipulating their mind into thinking like, hey, this is the right thing to do. They can either be driven mad into a rage or literally mind controlled by hearing the sword speak in their mind.
Because Majora does go around the place like killing people and torturing people. So I feel like being manipulated into like killing and torturing people isn't gonna really change much for our Majora's Mask homie over here. But even if like that was a problem, Majora fundamentally is like a wooden magical artifact that absorbs negativity and other bad energies to become stronger. So I think like if there's just like corruptive energy lying around, Majora would just like absorb that energy and like become stronger, and then he would, because like the more power he gets, the more defined as a person he becomes. Like it starts as Skull Kid and is by the end of the game Majora because he keeps absorbing this negative energy. So I think the corruption might just hasten Majora's evolution, if anything. He'd be smoking that like Regigigas with the neutralizing gas. He'd be like, that's that good shit.
I would argue that neither would have an advantage in terms of corrupting the other, because I don't think Majora could even touch the true soul of Nightmare, which exists on another plane of existence. Compared to, but I also don't think doing things like trying to manipulate Skull Kid is going to work as long as he has the mask on. And even without the mask, I think Majora is just like, I don't think Nightmare is going to corrupt the mask itself, right? Yeah, do we know if the mask has a soul?
The mask... So, I guess this is like more of like a thematic thing. There's no evidence he has a soul of his own. If I was to posit thematically my take on the story, it's kind of like the mask, based on, I think, like the folklore that inspired it and the vibe and story they're going for, it seems like the masks in the Majora's Mask world, because there's a bunch of masks in that game, you take masks to wear them. Masks are meant to let people take on the entity that mask is portraying so that entity can do other things. Like someone will like wear a mask of a person so they can fulfill the role of that person. Like if a chief or mayor or something is not available, they'll wear that mask to become that person. Link wears the fierce deity mask to fulfill the role of the fierce deity, or he wears the mask of the hero of the Gorons to fulfill the role of the hero of the Gorons. Majora is a mask that was made in like this cult off in the corner. Perhaps with some ties to Demon Tribe, we're not sure. But I think this mask started off as nothing but like a wooden artifact with potential. That eventually the negative emotions of Termina, the world the game takes place in, eventually fills the mask enough that the mask can accomplish its role on its own without a host to facilitate that role. So I think the mask is like more of negative energy given a vessel than like an entity with a soul, if I had to guess.
I want to point out that my mom just said my name in chat, which, hi mom, I love you, but also she misspelt it. So, and that is not something that autocorrect would do. So I'm upset personally now. And if I don't get the pity votes, that's what, no. I also agree. Majora probably has no soul, just because we see what happens when people wear masks that are imbued with souls in the game, and it shifts the person's body, right? It's not exactly resembling it, but kind of like a resemblance of both characters. And when Majora is worn by Skull Kid, there is no body alter or shift, right? So I don't think there would be a soul for it to merge with. It's just complete control in my eyes. Should I bring up the BFR extra universe stuff now, or?
I mean, sure.
So this is, again, Soul Calibur, because Namco, for some reason, has the most complicated lore in anything. There is a thing called the Astral Chaos, which is something that Nightmare and what is essentially the true form of Nightmare exists, right? There's a little misnomer between... This is another thing Death Battle kind of got wrong. But granted, they didn't know at the time. This was not confirmed. This was confirmed in a book called, I have it written down right here. Hold on. New Legend of Project Soul, right? And there's a character named Night Terror. You might remember in the death battle between Nightmare and Gus that he grows wings and gets this new form, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is not Nightmare. This book clarifies that Night Terror is the form of Nightmare that exists within the Astral Chaos. And the Astral Chaos is this super weird, fucked up realm that if you enter it, you immediately get corrupted unless you have something specifically not corrupting you. I can't remember the name of the character, but a character who had undergone the same kind of, or maybe it was just Keelik again. Maybe he just has bad fucking luck. People who had trained to fight against corruption were still corrupted in this realm, even when they weren't affected by Soul Edge in the real world. Soul Edge has access to this new world, and can send people there just by kind of like opening it up. That's kind of what happens in the end of Soul Calibur 3. And I believe also the end of Soul Calibur 2 when Inferno comes out, when the soul comes out, they're transported in this weird like realm like that. It is just an infinite realm called the Astral Chaos. That Night Terror, you potentially having access to come here and get Night Terror into the fight would be a very crazy win con, just because of how powerful it is, right? And I know Majora has their own universe as well, but I'm not sure how that works personally. But I think having this immediate BFR technique that you could just be like, I'm here now, literally just stands there and then everything warps around you and then you're in this new dimension. I feel like that's probably a better form of BFR than Majora can do. And even if Majora does send Nightmare to its own dimension, he most likely could just get out immediately and go back into the Astral Terror, where he would have a huge advantage with both Corruption and Night Terror.
I disagree. I think that Majora's ceiling is I guess spoiler that Majora can also seal people away. But I think Majora's sealing has like layers to it, and his resistance to being sealed also has layers. Because Majora can kind of travel to different dimensions and also like make his own dimensions and travel to them and back and forth. So I guess like if Majora wants a world to like torment, so if he just like got sent to a world of like astral chaos where there's nothing there except for uninhabited planets and this asshole, then he'd be like, "This place sucks. I'm gonna skedaddle," and he'd just go back.
So I just generally I don't think if the gods of that control many different worlds can't seal Soul Edge, that he does just naturally have layered sealing, because people have tried to seal him before using their power, God's power, enchanted weapons, a mix of all of them at once, and it's never worked. So I do think there would be some layered protection against being sealed. In terms of the BFR, my argument isn't as much so he's going to send Majora to a place and Majora can't get out. It's that even if Majora were to get out and bring Nightmare somewhere else, Nightmare could just return. It would just kind of be like this moot point, right?
I mean,
I have a question.
What's up?
Yes, sir.
You're both talking a lot about their abilities and how they counter each other, and I actually think that's pretty interesting, especially when you talked about the ceiling, like how what it could just probably just ignore it. But here's my question: who would probably like for both of your characters when it comes to like their stamina? Like, is it endless? Because I know I've never really heard about them getting tired, but like, let's say Skull Kid actually does just like decide to spam ceiling. Who's gonna get tired first?
Do you want me to give an honest answer?
I mean, yeah.
So if we're talking about a war of attrition, they can both last a very long time. Nightmare has been known to go full days just slaughtering and slaughtering and slaughtering without stop, right? Taking over kingdoms by himself. But the catch is, and I'm unsure if the connection to the astral chaos helps, because the souls he eats appears there, and they are source for him to keep moving, right? The more he kills, the more power he gets, and the more stamina he has. It is stated in the video games that if Nightmare stops consuming souls or is prevented from consuming souls, that the power would diminish and he would need a host to do so. Right? Like somebody picking up the sword and killing again. Instead of his avatar of Nightmare coming and doing it for himself. I do not believe Majora has any statements or anything of him ever tiring out, needing to sleep or anything like that, unless Sharon wants to correct me. So I'm going to say I don't think it's an important factor, but if we are going to say who would tire out first, it would most likely be Nightmare, because he has a stated cap on when his ability and power would end.
Okay.
The only time Majora ever gets tired is when he's tired of the player's bullshit. In terms of like actual stamina, like he's awake for all 3 of those days and he's like dancing around. I don't want like No Limits fallacy this and like say Majora could shoot a laser for all of eternity and there'd be no issue. Because like I guess you could logic it out and say like he's a mass absorbed energy, and I guess maybe that energy could like run out, but also like in Zelda, that like running out of energy isn't really like a thing. Like artifacts, once they are magical, they seem to like have that magical energy like forever, like an android in Dragon Ball. So it's just kind of like maybe not, but at the very least, in the grand scheme,
I'm a child or an adult, Sonic said.
I tried to be a farmer, but I'm back.
Thank you, Penn, for $5. He said, "What a cool matchup! This debate has been awesome." Thank you. Somebody brought this up, and I do want to mention this. Somebody said, but wait, could Nightmare go against Spawn in game? Oh, where'd Sherm go? Oh, could Nightmare go against Spawn in game? Yes, technically, but those 3 instances of Link, the instances of Ezio, Link, Spawn, Kratos, and Heihachi are not canon. they are explicitly told that they are not. There are only 2 crossovers that one is explicitly canon because they show up on relationship charts later in the series, and one of them is technically canon because of a crossover comic that I will bring up later that I believe will help my chances. Thank you, Saul, is what I will say.
I hope Star Wars is the canon one.
Okay, so this is really weird. Can you 3 see my face right now?
Yes.
Yes.
So on the other webpage that I use to actually record restream, so no one sees,
you're not showing up on stream.
Of our 5 participants in this video, the only one that can see my face is the one that matters. So I don't have a face right now. It's very strange. I guess if you want to talk about something, I can fix this, but I guess not seeing my face is not the end of the world. My words are what matters.
Are you by chance tabbed out of the restream?
No, I'm logged in. I'm tabbed in. Well,
if you wanna go over something real quick, I can do some research real quick.
On Nightmare?
No, on how to fix your thing, because it's probably a simple issue.
I mean, I could probably fix. I think I just don't want to refresh my tab because that's the tab I'm. It's fucking.
Gilded Data is right. Soul Edge BFR'd him. He's in the Astro
Nightmare wins.
I guess one thing I could go over is just generally the crossovers, right? Just interesting. One thing I can go over is just generally the crossovers that are canon. This won't end the stream, will it? What you're doing, Sherm?
I'm refreshing the internet page that OBS is capturing. I'm not messing with OBS at all. Also, I fixed it.
Santi Sherm has become space.
Yay!
It's so cool.
There he is.
Yeah, I fixed it because I'm a G and I know what I'm doing. Anyway, please continue.
The crossover stuff I wanted to save till stats. So if we're good, I think you need to actually zoom out on OBS because it's really zoomed in. Okay. I want to save my next arguments for stats. So if you have anything else to go over before that, then
I have so much to go over. I was taking it slow because here's a problem with. I'm not gonna say problem. Here's the dynamic advantage I'll say that Majora has, which is that, like I've said, Nightmare is a sword fighter with like some magical abilities, whereas Majora is more or less a full-on reality warper. And Link fights him in a sword fight, but there's a lot of context to this where Majora is kind of like a kid, whether this is because he himself is like a child on the inside, or these are like the remnants of Skull Kid's personality are left unsaid. But every time Link fights Majora, he just like insta-haxes him and like sends him away like a reality warper would if they had these kind of powers. The only time Link is able to run the hands is because Majora is so frustrated, and then you travel to like this alternate dimension that Majora creates, and Majora's like, hey, let's play good guys and bad guys. I'll be the good guy, you be the bad guy, and bad guys run from the good guys. And then you get into a fight where Majora tries to kill you with like more traditional like lasers and physical melee attacks. He's not going to want to play a game with, like, the 6-foot angry suit of armor. He's not going to be like, hey, you look like a fun playmate. He's going to be like, you look like a prick. Be a turtle or something. Like, he's not going to, like... And also, he doesn't even need to be there. He can, like, do this from, like, the next county. Be like, because he has, like, telescopic vision. So he could be like, fuck you. Go to Detroit, and then like Nightmare's just fucked.
Not
like,
Detroit, no.
Like that's like the thing is like Majora has like such good battlefield control that Nightmare's really gonna struggle to even like be in the area the fight is taking place in. I guess like besides just going into like his layered hacks, I'll bring up this GIF to kind of just illustrate my point funnily. Nightmare is a fighting game character with, like, fighting game stuff. So, like, he'll be fighting with sword attacks. And if they ever get into a scrap, he'll just, like, zone him because he can just spam lasers. So he's gonna, like, really frustrate him mechanically. I want to throw that out there. He's, like, the worst zoner in all of history. So that's rough for Nightmare.
God, I forgot how ridiculous that looks. I love it.
Yeah, but also... this ain't gonna be a 1v1 because Majora could just pull up with the squad because he does just like make all the bosses in the game. This is just some fan art that I thought was cool to illustrate my point. Like he could just pull up with the 4 main bosses of the game. And I bring up the 4 main bosses because they'd obviously be the most powerful, but he can literally just create or summon any enemy in the game of Majora's Mask and just like jump Nightmare. And I think like we have like a warrior, we have like a giant bull with electricity, we have this fish which might not be relevant unless Nightmare's in the water for whatever reason. But Majora could just warp the land to drop Nightmare in a giant lake because he can just terraform the entire continent to look different. But I think the one that's extra cool and relevant that I want to bring up was Twin Rova, which I think are still the biggest bosses in Zelda, except for maybe the dragons and Tears of the Kingdom, where he makes you fight like these giant flying desert centipedes that are like absolutely massive. And the only way you're conventionally able to do damage to them is by wearing another giant's mask where you also become a giant, and then you do a WWE SmackDown with them. Yeah, so they'll be fighting these giant kaiju-sized flying centipedes and these bulls and these like 30-foot swordsmen, while Majora will be like sitting back with like a couch and bucket of popcorn he summoned to just watch like this guy like fight not even Majora but like his minions.
So in terms of the AoEs, right? Like Nightmare can just create typical shockwaves with his hand. If he stabs his sword into the ground, he can make giant explosions that surround his body. He can shoot lasers, as seen in the boss fight in Soul Calibur 3. And in terms of, well, if we're going to say he could summon an army, Nightmare could always just kind of bring people to him using the Astral Chaos. That's a little less confident. I'm going to be honest. I'm less confident with that being an actual thing. But he also has this, like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like this astral dark horse that he uses to maneuver around really quickly, right? It's this horse made of absolute darkness that he can just get on and ride whenever he wants. And that's it, really. Nightmare's whole shtick, though, even if he is overwhelmed, is his ability to rip out and absorb people's souls. So if any of these monsters would have a soul to them, Nightmare would have almost no issue just ripping it out or using his sword to absorb them with single blow.
I will say, I think they might just be like creations of Majora's magic as opposed to like pre-existing entities.
If they were just magical abilities, then the sword would still absorb them because that's just kind of how Soul Edge works. And also, it just has an innate resistance to certain magical abilities, although it's been inconsistent. So I don't know how we would argue that one.
I guess, like, besides that,
yeah, Nightmare's whole shtick in the games, especially Soul Calibur 3, is that when Siegfried would fall asleep, Nightmare would take over his body. And in the opening of the game, you see him taking on hordes of like men and different like weapons that are being fired at him, and nothing does anything. He just kills them all in one swing, essentially. And it's consistent in the story that he takes out kingdoms in a day, even if it's just him versus armies and armies of people or giant weapons. He just does it.
I get that Nightmare like can sweep through like the mooks, but like we're dealing with like giant like building size swordsmen and like flying kaiju monsters that are gonna be like. If I'm being honest, they individually probably scale higher than Nightmare, but we can save that for later. But yeah, I guess I just something I would bring up because I guess this is more hacks layers than abilities than arsenal. But I think it's important to talk about this before we get into stats, which is that a lot of Majora's hacks are layered to the point that like they should easily work on someone like Nightmare. And the reason I say this is one of the people that Majora is able to hacks out is Link. And you might notice at the end of Ocarina of Time, before he fights Majora, what's that little triangle thing he's got in his hand? The nefarious Triforce in the bottom right corner.
Does that show up in game?
This is at the end of Ocarina of Time.
I never noticed that. I'm crazy.
Yeah, no one notices it because this is like the best picture. It's like kind of almost the same color as his skin, and like in the bottom right corner. But he does just have that at the end of the game because he is the same Link that has the Triforce. Just because he's a kid again doesn't mean like he would lose access to that because the Triforce exists out of space and time. So if you're worthy of it, you're getting it. It's not like you can be time traveled out of it. But yeah, he has this thing, and the resistances the Triforce give you are absurd. He can like Link went to the Twilight Realm, which is like absurdly thorough in the way it like can spiritually and physically manipulate you into like weird zombie ghost monsters with no history. Zelda got hit by this and was completely helpless as soon as she lost her Triforce. Ganondorf was partially manipulated when he went there initially. Everyone in the light spirits are like kind of fucked, and they can only resist it by like exerting enough light that it doesn't like touch them. Like this Twilight stuff is really thorough, and the Triforce of Courage is able to keep Link safe from that and just turn him into a wolf instead. Similarly, even in Ocarina of Time, this very Link was able to resist being turned into like an undead zombie monster by like the magic of the forest. And that's not counting all the stuff Ganondorf does and resists with his Triforce. The Triforce is just an absurdly good, like, the wielder of this godly energy source will not be touched by your magic. And then Majora's like, I don't care, be a Deku Scrub. Like, it just doesn't work because Majora's just built different.
When you said that, I imagined the Dr. Manhattan gif. He's like, whatever, be a turtle.
That's literally how Majora be, except he's a little shit about it. So some hacks that I think would work on Nightmare is he turns one kid into a baby. So I think that could be a potential win con for Skull Kid. Just turn Nightmare into a baby or a marketable plushie of some sort. Beyond that, he could... I would talk about splitting him up into different shards. But also, something that's interesting is the giants, which are like guardian deities of the world of Termina, some of the strongest thing. Not only does he like manipulate their realm and take their power away from them, but he also puts them inside of the bosses that are fighting for him and defending the sealed deities. So I think Majora could just like look at Nightmare and be like, I want you to be part of my mini boss army. Get in the mask, get into the bowl, and fight this small child for me. I think that's how this is gonna go down. I think like Majora is just on a much more godly, thorough, hacksy power set that Nightmare is gonna really struggle to properly resist.
A lot of what Majora does is a lot of both transmutation and soul manipulation. And if he turns Nightmare into a baby, it's just essentially trying to turn a suit of armor into a baby, because it's just the Inferno manifesting within Nightmare, living on with the souls that exist within the astral chaos, right? So I really doubt Majora is going to passively just have access to a realm it's never seen before. So I don't think it would really work like that. And I've already made arguments against the whole like splitting them apart stuff.
I think like the thing is like with Zelda, these are a lot more like blatant and thorough, because we see like, I just think because Zelda as like mythology is a lot more gone into than the mythology of Soul Calibur, because
we'll have, like, Pin said it. Transformations really shouldn't work on him because he doesn't have like a body. Saying go turn into a baby to a suit of armor isn't going to do anything.
The thing is, like, Majora can transform. He can manipulate your soul and your body, and like being made of metal.
On another dimension.
Being made of metal isn't going to suddenly make you immune to your molecules being turned into different molecules.
But what I'm saying is that he still uses it's just the armor is just a catalyst, right? Nightmare has possessed other people, possessed dead people before, and has morphed the armor into different forms before, even without like getting a new piece of armor to change into its body with. It just morphs the body itself. So I don't see why him getting transmuted, he couldn't just either turn back or possess something else that would let him turn back.
Well, because Majora's transmutation like depowers people. Like he takes people's souls, he takes people's bodies, and then he warps them into a way where they don't have access to their powers anymore. The great fairies can transform. They can't transform once Majora turns them into a bunch of little Navis. The giants have absurd powers, and that like where they can manipulate their own realm. They can't do anything once they've been sealed away. The soul of Link is being like restricted by the soul of the Deku transformation. Like it's not like he still has his powers and he still once you're transformed by Majora, you're kind of like you're just that.
But first again, it's a lot of stuff has to do with bodies. Nightmare doesn't have an essential body to morph, and on top of that, his power system doesn't even come from the same plane of existence. He's been completely annihilated before and still come back. So I don't see why transmuting the body would just and it's also something in game that like taking different hosts, taking different forms after his body's been. The initial clash with Siegfried and Nightmare incinerated both of their bodies, and because of the power of Nightmare and or Soul Edge and Soul Calibur, they got remanifested, right? You would have to essentially just destroy the sword completely with no trace, and then destroy every fragment after that somehow, which we still don't know how you would do in game, in lore, to kill Nightmare for good.
Maybe I'm not understanding. So the sword can like regenerate from nothing, but you have to destroy the sword to. I'm a little confused. So what's happening?
The sword has been shattered before, but and Nightmare had to manifest itself into a weaker version without the Soul Edge, right? But we know that certain pieces can be destroyed. We just don't know how they would be destroyed. Last time it was from Soul Calibur, but then they later retconned that to say Soul Calibur can't actually destroy Soul Edge. So it's a little bit complicated. What I'm saying is that even if you morph Nightmare's body or destroy it or do whatever to it to try to depower it, one, it gets power from something that would be outside of, at least before, unless he gets BFR'd there and we determine that Skull Kid can manipulate the souls inside the Astral Chaos. But it would be outside of Majora's reach to depower him from when he gets his power from another realm, or and that the sword itself can manifest new bodies if it gets destroyed or possess other things.
So I guess the question would be, if he's getting his power from an outside source, is Nightmare drawing power from this outside source, or is this outside source supplying the power of its own inscrutable will or something?
It's kind of hard to explain. It's both hinted at that the Astral Chaos is a separate dimension that is aside the human dimension, but it's also hinted that the Astral Chaos is something that just lives within Nightmare. When he kills someone and the Soul Edge steals their soul and eats it for his power, the soul is stored within that Astral Chaos, right? So they are connected in some way, like physically. It's not just eating the soul and containing in the sword, it's getting contained within this separate dimension, meaning that there is some sort of link between the two. And it's been shown before that the Astral Chaos is the thing that Zasalamel was trying to get into to break his own curse of being alive forever. Because he figured that the souls in there would kind of just let his body not come back, I think was the explanation there. Immortality negation right there. Boom, get fucked.
I mean, here's the thing, like, Majora is not, like, invincible. You can just, like, beat the shit out of him and then, like, you win. I just don't think Nightmare's strong enough to do that, which we can get into later, but, like, I guess
honestly,
what I'm trying to say, like...
into that now, because it does seem like strength, it really does come down to, like, because you guys went going back and forth, like, oh, he can manipulate him, oh, he can't. But it seems like if we get into strength, like, who is stronger, that's probably just going to decide who can resist whose manipulation.
Okay. I guess, like, just to say one last thing on it, because this is the only new thing I say before we start going in circles, which is, if it's Nightmare drawing power from an outside source, I would just say that the soul manipulation and transmutation of what Majora does would just prevent Nightmare from reaching out to that other power source. If it's like the power source has its own will that is like transforming or resurrecting Nightmare, then I guess that would work. But if it's like something Nightmare has to do on its own volition, I would say the very thorough transmutation would prevent him from doing that.
Astral Chaos has its own will.
Then it's outside help.
Is there any evidence that it would even stop that? I feel like that was a stretch.
Well, I'm saying like the great fairies can't access any of their own magic or even call like their other fairies to help. Link's Triforce is literally drawing power from the goddesses, and that doesn't let him like resist it. So it's just like it just kind of makes you powerless, including the power being drawing power from other sources.
My argument to that before was that people have had weapons, abilities, and stuff, and the help of Hephaestus and other gods to try to seal the Soul Edge, and nothing worked. And that's layered forms of sealing that just failed on all at once. That failed on the Soul Edge itself.
I would argue.
Also, I'm not taking a side. By the way, I'm not taking non-canon endings and stuff like that into account, because then that leads to a huge ass can of worms of what Nightmare can do. I'm just sticking to the canon endings that Namco has described.
I guess we can go into power to talk about who would overpower the other in terms of that.
Okay.
I will say though, I think that the Triforce gods are far more like storied and have much better feats than any of like the gods in the Soul Calibur verse in terms of
the Greek gods are literally just the Greek gods. Soul Calibur follows a very faithful timeline to the real world. Events that happen in Soul Calibur and religions that exist within Soul Calibur are still like canon to real life is how I'm gonna say it.
If the gods are canon to real life scaling, I got bad news. The gods aren't real in real life, so they get zero scaling.
Well, so the mythologies are treated, specifically Greek. Again, there is a Filipino god, but we don't know if it's the Greek wind god that this Filipino girl is following, or if it's a Filipino god that exists separately, a la God of War style. We just don't know because they don't name drop it.
I think scaling to real world mythology is a little hinky.
Yeah, that's a little.
But it is, because the stories of the gods within this world still exist, right? Like the followers of Hephaestus' stories from real life are things that happen within the story of Soul Calibur.
Like, okay, right? Just playing ball with this like line of logic. Let's like say, okay, these are clearly supposed to be like the gods, the Greek gods. What would we use from the real mythology? If we were to do something like Soul Calibur or Percy Jackson or Zagreus, we wouldn't use all the mythology that exists for these characters. We would use what the stories are in that world. Like, we don't know if Hercules actually shot the sun in the Percy Jackson world, so we wouldn't scale Percy Jackson to 100 times the speed of light, because we don't know if he's done that in that world.
We're getting into completely different series, man.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like, I think we can't just say like because Greek mythology is a thing in Soul Calibur and Hephaestus couldn't seal him means that Nightmare scales to all of real world.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all. Don't take the words out of my fuck. No, I'm kidding. What I'm saying is that a lot of the stories that Hephaestus has had in other gods, like not Zeus, what is the god of Ares, are real stories, and the real cults that followed them back in their original stories do exist within Soul Calibur. So there's a lot you can take from the original mythology that actually does apply to Soul Calibur. I'm not saying Nightmare scales to all these people. I'm just saying that there is comparable things within the games that do coincide with the real tales.
I'll press F to doubt on that one, or whatever the old meme from 2015 is.
You can doubt it all you want. I mean, I'm fine if you want to be wrong. It's okay. That's completely up to you.
So we wanted to get into stats now.
Yes,
I'm being very cheeky right now.
All right, so where's Nightmare standing stat wise?
So are we starting with strength or speed?
Let's do speed, because I do think that probably matters more here.
I'm very curious what you have to say with this one.
Okay, so if we're starting with speed, let me just Sherm, you start while I download this image, just so.
With Majora speed?
Yeah.
Sorry. Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Okay. So he fights Link. I think most people just like know that there's like light speed, relativistic, slightly FTL scaling in Zelda. That's not a crazy thing. Yeah. That's like a baseline I can establish. Majora gets that scaling. Some higher end scaling. In Ocarina of Time, Link shoots the sun with an arrow. And that's how he gets the fire arrows. This is like a Hercules Dovahkiin style feat. We've given it to other people. There's zero reason not to say it's invalid with Link. So Link's with the bow has been calculated to be a feat that is approximately 250 times light speed with how fast the arrow would have to be traveling. And this is kind of consistent because with Breath of the Wild Flurry Rush multipliers, you can get him to like dozens of times faster than light. So this makes sense for... It also just makes sense for Link to like be Hercules. There's a lot of like Herculean tropes in Greek mythology. I mean, a lot of Herculean tropes in Ocarina of Time. It's that kind of story. So it makes sense for the Hero of Time to have a kind of similar like mythological feat like this. So we got like...
Are we both... We're both arguing myth feats here. Fuck.
I'm not arguing that it's scaling to the myth. I'm arguing that this feat happened in the game. I'm just giving some context for it.
I just didn't think we both... I think it's interesting that we both pulled from that kind of idea, though.
And do you want me to go all the way to like my higher end stuffs as well?
If you want.
Alright, so the Golden Goddesses breathed the multiverse into existence. This is very important because it specified their breath created millions of alternate universes. And it specified that it was their breath that did this. And it's specifically like some kind of like force coming from them, even if this is flowery language, because it's accidentally creating worlds beyond the world they're intending to create. So it's just like some kind of magical energy traveling out of them into the great wide omniverse. This has been calced to roughly maybe 30 sextillion times faster than light. Now you might be asking, now why on earth would we scale Majora to the Golden Goddesses, the peak of power in the verse? That seems absurd. Why would we ever do that? Here comes Echoes of Wisdom with the steel chair to thoroughly cement Legend of Zelda's place in the JRPG power scaling community, because Noel fights the Golden Goddesses, he seals them away, and then you fight Noel with the Triforce of Courage or the Triforce of Wisdom, and you fight, you win. It's just kind of like, there it is, we got Golden Goddess scaling, ladies and gentlemen. So we have 20 sextillion times faster than Light Majora. And as far as I can tell, Nightmare is Mach 5, so I think I have the advantage on that one.
Hold on, sorry. Why does he scale again?
Why does So Majora fights Link.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then Link would fight... And Link has the Triforce of Courage.
Mm-hmm.
And the Triforce of Courage is like an amp. The Triforce of Courage and Echoes of Wisdom is what lets Link fight Noel. So the Triforce of Courage would give a similar amp to the Hero of Time, especially because this is a Link that's been using it for 2 whole games, versus the Echoes Link, which got it like the other day. So it's just like that. The Hero of Time would be a more experienced Link than the Echoes of Wisdom Link.
Okay, why would Null scale to the breath the goddesses put out?
Because he fights the goddesses.
Okay.
Also, Triforce is just the power of the goddesses blatantly. I think Null's a bit easier to logic because it's just kind of like Majora fights Link. Link fights Null. Null fights the goddesses. But also the Triforces are just the power of the goddesses, and their power is what traveled.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I kind of agree with Saul that I don't know how I feel about scaling links to each other.
I mean, I'm not scaling the links to each other. I'm scaling the Triforce of Courage.
But didn't you say that Majora was able to like weaken Link with his powers? Like, so how do we know that he even fully scales to it?
The Link that Majora fights is no longer weak. He gets turned into the Deku Scrub, and then you solve that problem in the first iteration of the 3 days, and then you're back to your normal full power after that.
Okay.
So I'm not scaling like the links, I'm scaling the Triforce of Courage, specifically. And the Triforce of Courage should be an amp on that level. Because it's not like a Super Saiyan, it's like your own power, it's like an artifact that you utilize the power of.
I thought the only Triforce that like directly gave power was the Triforce of Strength, though.
That is kind of a misconception, but that really doesn't make sense with how the verse works. Because, like, Link just gets the Triforce of Courage to fight other Triforce users. Like, in Twilight Princess, Link uses the Triforce of Courage so that he can match Ganondorf's power. If you were to say that the Triforce of Courage gave him no power, you'd have to argue that Link, with no power boost, was able to overpower a Ganondorf with the Triforce of Power. And in Echoes of Wisdom, it also blatantly goes into this, where Zelda and Link are kind of able to relatively fight Null, and then Null gets a Triforce of Power, and then you match his power up by getting the Triforce of Wisdom and the Triforce of Courage. So the Triforce of Power has a whole host of absurd abilities it grants, but in terms of just like the power boost, all the Triforce pieces would give you a similar boost.
Interesting.
All right. So to understand the true capabilities of Nightmare, you have to understand what is canon and what is not canon to Soul Calibur, right? The crossovers are very weird. The God of War, not canon. It's also funny because in the God of War crossover, he is so angry at the other gods that even though Soul Calibur or Soul Edge would have given him more power, he said, "Fuck you, you're not my target," and just like used it to go back to his world to kill the gods barehanded. I think that's a Chad move. Link, it would be funny if Link was canon because it means everything scales, and it's specifically Ocarina of Time Link that appears in Soul Calibur.
You don't want Link to scale because Link just beats the shit out of Nightmare in his story mode, which is just like, that gives me the AP edge, so you don't want that one to be canon.
Yes, but he also fought that doesn't matter because it's not canon. But he also fought a version of Nightmare which is significantly less powerful than he is now. So Spawn is not canon. That would have been a big one for me, but Spawn is not canon. There are only 2 that are considered canon. And I guess I'll kind of combine strength for this first one. This is the one everyone knows about and I don't like. Nightmare alone, right, is strong enough to completely eclipse someone who caused an eclipse. This has been calced to around moon level. And his speed is a bullet timer. Anyway, so when you go past that and you go into what has canonically happened in other media, you have, and Sherm knows I hate this, Joe, I'm just saying I'm using it because I have to. This is a character named Angle Fear. She started off as a character in Soul Calibur 4 and later shows up in Sergeant Frog. She is part of the tribe of people who just go and break planets, because why not? And Nightmare in the story was able to defeat her. I don't have the scan because I forgot to grab it. If you want me to grab it to prove it, I will.
I think I have it,
but
actually.
Oh yeah, sweet. She is an official character within Soul Calibur in the later games in Soul Calibur's relationship charts. Angle Fear is a consistent character that shows up later. So this one crossover was not the end of her relationship within the series. She was also made specifically for the series. Yes, this is an official relationship chart that shows the characters and how they relate to each other. And Angle Fear is clearly stated in this chart to be a canonical character within the series, right? This is a data book long after Soul Calibur 4 released. Yes. Oh, this is also showing her in the inside Sergeant Frog. This isn't the exact scan that shows her in the story, but she is in the story later on. So any scaling that you could have gotten with Angle Fear, yeah. Okay, any scaling you can get with her has been scaled from anywhere between large planet to solar system. Even if you wanted to say large planet, that is still an immense amount of power. But Nightmare, through the use of the Astral Chaos and Night Terror in the guidebook, this is what I was looking for before, but I just didn't have time to go through all 800 pages to find this quote. I'm sorry. I'm sure it's out there somewhere, and other people can attest this for me. They describe Night Terror as a being with immeasurable power who only exists to destroy. Which would be far above this feat right here. But specifically, if we're going with speed here, Angle Fear, Angle Moi, and all those other characters from Sergeant Frog are just well faster than light. Obviously not getting to the point where it would be applicable to compare with Majora, right? But that's just kind of the first step. Now, there is another canonical crossover between and if anyone wanted to see, this is what Night Terror looks like. Just, I'm sure everyone knows what Nightmare looks like, but this looks raw as fuck, just to say.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So
that's
cool.
That's a separate thing.
I like that you got a tail. That's fun.
The other canonical crossover comes with a comic series that debuted to connect with the game. And that comic series is Star Wars. Okay? This comic series leads up to the beginning of the game, and the game kind of ends it. Now, it is important to note that they are canonically there, but the Darth Vader and the Yoda and the Apprentice endings are not canon. So things like Vader bringing the Soul Edge onto the Imperial starships is not real, although it's really funny to look at. These do exist. And using some things that Saul has sent me, we can use some quotes like this talking about passage times, right? About how people react and move within places like hyperspace. And according to Saul, reactions in hyperspace can travel practically infinite speeds. So I would not argue that Nightmare himself could scale this high. But if he's contending with people who can pilot ships that go this fast, his reaction speed, at the very least, would need to be that high.
So I didn't think I would need this, so I didn't bring it up. But Null fights the goddesses in a realm without space and time because they invented space and time. And he fought them in the space before space and time existed. So Null could easily have immeasurable speed as well.
What about?
I'd like to just so everyone reminds everyone that they were casting doubt on me scaling one Triforce user to another Triforce user, and Plynfist scaling Nightmare to hyperspace in Star Wars. Just so we all remember the scaling chains for each other. just
also
keep that in mind.
Also to argue, the chaos, whatever, I've said it 1,000 times today. I can't remember. The Astral Chaos is also a plane that exists beyond time and space as well.
All right, cool. So, with Star Wars scaling, they can both be immeasurable speed. This all sounds good and valid to me. I'm sure this is exactly how it would play out.
Yeah, I was going to say
100%.
It is a part of the Star Wars comic series, and it's a canonical crossover that was produced by both companies. The stories tie into both the games.
I have to ask them, because I do know this. If we start using crossovers and stuff, doesn't Link just show up in one of the Soul Calibur games?
He does.
Well, what we're saying is I'm only using canonical crossovers. If we use Link, we can easily scale them to each other because it's the same Link that's in Majora's Mask, and it would just be like Link would probably just edge out in stats if we didn't go farther, right? But I don't think that would be fun. So I only went with what people and the creators have explained as canon that has been supported by media outside of just the guest appearance games they show in. I feel like that's more fair than just being, because if not, then Spawn, and then we get into a whole other can of worms.
I will admit on camera right now that I think Spawn beats Majora. I feel like that's not a crazy.
Yeah,
I feel like that's not that. No,
I'm okay with
that's
that.
not crazy.
This is like the Kingpin Penguin cast. Like, if you can prove Kingpin as Dr. Doom scaling, then I concede, but I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think that's a step too far.
So, Saul is saying that the Star Wars has a 500 C feat, which would be twice as good as the Fire Arrow feat. I'm not sure where Nightmare scales in regards to that 500 C Star Wars feat, but that's something to consider.
I believe the 500 C feat is specifically talking about how fast Mace Windu fights, and Anakin being able to fight Mace Windu.
Well, okay. When is it established Anakin's able to fight Mace Windu? Because Mace Windu's kind of the GOAT. Mace Windu had Palpatine like shit in his pants. He was like, "Oh shit, I didn't think he was this good." Mace Windu.
He did send me a scan, but it's a lot of text, so I didn't put it up.
I didn't think I'd have to argue why Anakin doesn't scale to Mace Windu in this Nightmare vs. Majora.
I think
I'm reading through this right now. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to see what this says because he sent me a scan as well with it.
I think Nightmare he also, because I think it was in one of the later Soul Caliburs, it's got Geralt, so I don't care if it's not canon. Geralt's cool as hell. So
yeah, he also gets 2B.
That's right. He gets 2B and Ezio. He gets Ezio.
I can't believe you're casting.
I love how we're bringing up like, oh, we got Link, we got Spawn, we got Star Wars, and he's like, bro, Ezio Auditore, let's go.
Dude, they're so good. They're so much cooler. Therefore,
hey yo, that Apple Eden might clutch up though. I can't believe you were casting doubt on my Triforce scaling when you had this in your back pocket.
Yeah, man, I'm not gonna lie. That's
that is a little crazy.
Listen, let's just say they're both as valid then, all right?
No,
I don't know about that. I don't know.
I almost said something rude, but that's like no. They're not equally valid. No, I'm scaling to another character in my own franchise.
But I'm scaling to characters that have been confirmed to be canon within the worlds they come from and referenced outside of their own in-game material in other media.
So did mine. They didn't need to be confirmed canon because they're the same series. They didn't need confirmation.
Well, no, what I'm saying is there's nothing in my arguments that are saying like, oh, this should be completely unapplicable.
Can I ask a question, then?
Sure.
Is any of the Star Wars stuff ever referenced in the games?
Apart from some guidebooks, the series gets quickly retconned after that and turns into a different thing come Soul Calibur 6.
Okay.
So it's kind of hard to say it because it kind of got reset.
Oof. Okay.
With Nightmare's power making a multiversal! Oh!
I can't wait for Soul Calibur to make its grand return to Death Battle just for the only scale you talk about be from Star Wars.
I just want to point out my water. I can't even see it anymore.
You've thrown it into the back rooms. You've thrown it out of
existence.
Bro,
I threw it into the astral chaos, bro. That's fucking crazy.
What Flyme is perhaps said something that we should not forget is that without Star Wars scaling, the best speed feats for Soul Calibur is Mach 5. So, and the baseline for Legend of Zelda is light speed. Which, if I just bust out my handy-dandy calculator out real quick, and this is assuming none of the...
Angle Fear makes it multiple times the speed of light with Sergeant Frog scaling, because Angle Fear debuted in Soul Calibur and is referenced later within Sergeant Frog, especially, and has its own relationship charts within all the characters of the game. So, multiple times speed of light is the baseline.
All right.
Especially for Nightmare, who scales the highest within anyone in the series because he beats everyone.
All right, if we're gonna go with the so let me just lay it all out for everyone. If we go with the most reasonable lower ends, we have Mach 5 versus the speed of light, which I'd like to say would make Majora 160,000 times faster. We go a little higher and we say, with the Sergeant Frog scaling, he's a couple times faster than Lightspeed, versus Link shooting an arrow at the sun, which would be 100 times faster than that. And then if we want to go all the way balls to the wall with the highest ends, they're both immeasurable. So, like, either I'm worst case scenario with crazy, with given a lot of slack to Nightmare, they're equal speed. Any other reasonable interpretation, Majora's blitzing easily. That's like, I'd like to say that's where we're at so far, as a reminder.
Pin said, Plime, can you address Majora doing this every day? Not really. He just kind of fucks with normal people every day. Link was kind of the exception.
He does fuck with normal people every day, and he would fuck with Nightmare just like he does every day. Do we want to talk about power now?
I already kind of said it. With the Night Terror, with scaling chain between him beating someone who could create eclipses in moments, and Nightmare literally being like, dude, you're fucking weak for just making that eclipse. That's all you can do, bro. We put him above Moon level. Angle Fear, we put him at, I'm gonna say, just, I'm not gonna give him fucking solar system because that's stupid. I'm just gonna say like probably like planet to large planet. And then the statement in the soul of whatever that book is called, it's called New Legends of Project Soul, explicitly says that Night Terror would be an immeasurable in strength.
Immeasurable in strength?
Yes.
So infinite strength?
No, immeasurable. Immeasurable is higher than infinite.
Immeasurable strength higher than infinite strength. All right, fair enough.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, that's consistent.
Right. So why is the solar system scaling not good?
So it's just it's a massive change from the first, because Moon level is kind of like Moon to small planet is Soul Calibur's like basis, right? To say that the angels within Sergeant Frog can get up to solar system to even galaxy, right? But I think it's too large of a jump to just innately say, because as much as I'm using scaling, I think it's a little much to be like, okay, so since he could fight them, they can just obliterate solar systems with a single hit. I think it makes more sense to use the lower end for Angle Fear, which would be just upgrading from small to large planet. Does that make sense? I
don't think that's like an absurd jump to say. Like, I think like there's some argument to be made that Nightmare might be solar system level. So anyway, Majora. I guess we can start with the low end. He slams the moon into the planet. That would have... There's just statements that would have destroyed the planet, so we don't really need the calcs, but with the calcs, that'd be about 400 zeta tons, which is planet level. He would scale to Tears of the Kingdom Ganondorf, because Ganondorf was using the Secret Stone, which is an artifact weaker than a Triforce piece, and Ganondorf was able to bring the moon really close to the Earth, which would be large planet level at 20 Yoda tons. And then Majora also makes a realm with a star in it. Near the end of the game, you go into like a realm to have like a heart-to-heart talk with Majora at the very end. Well, not really a heart-to-heart, but like you kind of see his inner self right before you get to the final boss fight. And he just creates a realm with a star in it. And so that would be star level at a minimum, but because creating a realm with a star in it would more likely be 2, 3, 4 times star level, realistically. But beyond...
Just real quick, I'm sorry. I completely forgot that Nightmare made his own realm with its own stars and planets in one of the games, which is where the star scaling comes from. The solar system comes from. My bad. Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt. It just popped into my head now. I was like, wait a second. In the Siegfried cast, I remember them bringing this up, and I was like, oh yeah.
Just to talk about some other games real fast. In Link's Awakening, the Windfish, the realm of the Windfish has Triforce iconography in it. So the Triforce, like, it implies that the Windfish himself is subservient to the Golden Goddesses. And even then, if you don't want to believe that, Link with, like, really no amps is able to kind of fight the bosses and win in that game, implying he'd be weaker than a Link with a Triforce or a Master Sword. The Windfish just dreams a universe into existence. Going outside of that, in Twilight Princess, Zant is merging the light worlds and the dark worlds together and he's using this with like a fraction of the power that Ganondorf gave him. And this would also be a universal level of power. But even if you don't want to buy that, Zant just does create another realm with a star in it in his boss fight. So that's another one. Vati, who would just with the power of Zelda without any Triforce pieces, was able to make like a Nebula Theater. Not just like a solar system with like one star and planets, but like an entire nebula of like dozens to hundreds of stars in the background. Yeah, and then there's like getting into even higher scaling where just like the Triforce itself is just implied to be like a potential universal amp for just a whole bunch of reasons. So
shout out to Nokia eSpiritual in the chat, by the way. He's the one that made the Super Cosmos sprites. What an excellent job.
Oh, nice.
Hell yeah.
I don't know why Saul's saying that I'm treating Plimp's arguments like bullshit when I literally said your solar system stuff was valid. I supported your solar system argument when you didn't. No. Why am I being treated like I'm the naysayer?
I mean, yeah, the solar system argument seemed pretty consistent, honestly.
Yeah. I feel like people are being mean to me because I don't know. They just don't like Zelda scale. I don't know why. I apologize for arguing for my character. I guess I'll stop. Yeah. I don't know why.
I'm having fun. That's all that matters to me.
I do know Zelda scaling can be really contentious for some people. I don't know why.
I think it's a mix of...
Because it's not letting me win this debate easily. Damn it.
I'm not going to say what I was going to say. It would turn to a whole tangent, but yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of universal stuff in the Zeldaverse, and Majora would scale to it. But even if you don't want to buy that, there's like plenty of like solar system level ends as well to pull from. That would be better.
I feel like universal Majora makes sense. Feet.
Yeah,
Nightmare Majora. I think typical Nightmare in his own realm probably would be AP stomps, but when things go to the Astral Chaos, I think it would be different. But I also think that you can also argue Majora to be higher than that, to around similar strengths to Nightmare's high ends.
So yeah, I guess like that's pretty much the long and short of it. I guess we can. Do you want me to throw up the poll and we can get into final arguments?
Sure. I kind of have nothing else to go through. The only thing I have is that like Nightmare, as a final argument, Nightmare should scale a good bit to the two series that have mentions and existence outside of just Soul Calibur, so no Legend of Zelda or Spawn or anything like that, but Star Wars and Sergeant Frog should be a thing because Angle Fear existed within Soul Calibur and then existed later within Sergeant Frog, and her name is mentioned outside of the games itself and in multiple guides and books and stuff like that as a consistent character with relationships within the Soul Calibur universe. I think the Astral Chaos, if sent there, would give Nightmare a really good advantage, especially considering Night Terror. And I think even if he were to get overwhelmed with a lot of enemies, that it's nothing Nightmare. Nightmare has done this every day. Let's be real. He fights hordes of things that fight him every day all at once. So even if Majora was like, take this and this and this and this, haha, he would just be like, okay, swing, destroy it all, absorb magic, steal souls, let's go. And I think both their high ends, in my opinion, would be around the same.
Majora may fight. I think there's a good argument that Majora fights people like Nightmare much more often than Nightmare fights people like Majora. Majora is like a trickster, reality warping god, and Nightmare is usually fighting like melee sword combatants. So like I think Majora is has much better argument for custody over the does this every day joke vote win. But in terms of actual arguments, I think he's just faster and stronger. And like you can maybe say like their AP is similar, like at worst. I think Majora has better arguments for AP, but like worst case scenario, they're similar. He's hundreds to thousands of times faster, so Nightmare will never touch Majora. There is like nothing Nightmare could ever do that Majora wouldn't like see in slow motion and evade. Like big explosion AoE, I'll just like he's way faster than the explosions can move. He can also just teleport, not just between realms, but he can teleport within realms, which I feel like is also good at dodging any extremely slow moving attacks that Nightmare will be throwing out. And also I just think he's on like a much more godly arsenal and power set. I think he's gonna turn Nightmare into a marketable plushie and then give it to the happy mask salesman to sell. He's gonna turn Nightmare into a mask to let the happy mask salesman sell to someone else, and then that'll be a different game. I think I think he has literally every advantage. You know those classic like debate charts with like the 15 categories? I think Majora's Mask is in all of them except for like skill and experience. I'll give you he's a better sword fighter because Majora doesn't use a sword. But he does fight with like ancient magic that trips sword fighters up. So, you know, I guess we're even in that one. I think it's just kind of like Majora wins pretty easily.
I just don't think personally that stats would be that different. That would give them either an advantage that would come down to resistances and hacks.
I think Majora quite literally statues Nightmare and like pulls off a hacks before Nightmare even realizes he's getting hacks.
Where's my sword? No, I'm kidding.
Where is my sword? It's in the Deku tree now.
All right, Jury, let's go.
Do you want to go first, Bullock, or you want me to go first?
You can go first.
All right. Going into this, I was so sure that Nightmare was gonna absolutely shit stomp, and now I'm kind of reversed. I don't think that the stat difference is that big, but I do think that Majora does still take all the stats, at the very least to a small margin. And it does come down to the hacks and resistances. While I do think Nightmare has a lot more resistances, I feel like the hacks that Sherm was bringing up for Majora would just be a bit much for what we've seen Nightmare be able to like get away from. So as much as my love, because I know I have Majora's Mask thing right there, Soul Calibur 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. As much as I hate to do this to my boy, I gotta go Majora or Skull Kid.
All right, that's one for Skull Kid.
Now, Moloch, I want to just lay this out for you. Base Nightmare. I'm not going to bribe you. You're going to get a free membership if you vote. No, I'm kidding. Base Nightmare is about moon level. And what is Skull Kid's most iconic thing?
Oh,
just think.
Okay.
Is your argument that Majora, whose power is clearly superior to a moon, would lose to moon level stats? I'm not even sure what the joke argument is here.
I mean, listen, man. Even if, because I still don't really like that Triforce of Courage scaling. Like, I know it does seem pretty consistent, but it does kind of irk me a little bit. However, I think it's pretty clear that even if you don't use that scaling, like, Majora is just like way stronger than Nightmare. Like, if we do use that scaling, then we have to start using the Nightmare scaling like the Star Wars stuff, and then he gets like infinite measurable speed. But then, as Sherm brought up, you can also just do that for Majora too, if you really want to go into like both of their high ends. And even then, even though I didn't like the Triforce scaling, Sherm made a really good point that like at least the scaling like Jade makes sense, but for Nightmare, the fact that you have to like use Star Wars and fucking Sergeant Frog.
I think one's coming to my house directly to beat the shit out of me for
I still couldn't fully believe that Sergeant Frog was on screen.
Right.
Like, I actually looked away for a second. I was like, why the fuck is Sergeant Frog on my screen? But yeah, I just feel like the scaling for Majora, even though I don't necessarily agree with a lot of it, is more consistent. And if it really comes down to speed, Sherm's right. Majora really is just gonna bob and weave everything Nightmare does and just constantly spam his reality warping on him. And if it does come down to that, if it does come down to spamming, I do think Majora spamming Nightmare until Nightmare's time runs out is genuinely something Majora could do. So I'm gonna have to give it to Majora.
All right, and we will be ending the poll, which is a Majora. A Majora has the majority of the votes at 65%.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Real quick, before we continue, I just want to. You can say something real quick. I'm sending myself a photo so I can put it on stream real quick because I think it'll make you all laugh.
All right.
But continue saying what you're saying.
I will say, like, just I know I've already won, but just to like further emphasize the argument, Majora literally like warps people from like across the world. So like Majora could be like, so like he could like literally like teleport Nightmare like to the other side of the world and just like do reality warping on him from across the world, and Nightmare really wouldn't be. He could reality warp him like from the moon. He could be like standing on the moon and reality warping Nightmare, who is on the planet. I will say though, a funny Star Wars thing that I'm surprised you didn't bring up is that in the Star Wars like storyline of Soul Calibur, the Soul Edge itself has like a shockwave, a galaxy-wide shockwave feat, which isn't necessarily scaling. It's just in the crossover, Nightmare has its own feat.
Well, I didn't use Nightmare Strength with any crossover scaling. I was using the immeasurable statement within the book.
Yeah, I just think like there's a funny way that's like it's definitely not crossover scaling. It's just a feat that Nightmare did in a crossover. Which
so
is
you guys are gonna laugh at this. This is mere moments before the stream.
Let me see this.
Saul said, "Good luck on the cast." I said, "I'm so fucked. The strongest I can get Nightmare is immeasurable because of statements I found in the book. Great, fantastic. He's fucking Doomslayer. He's a goddamn bullet timer."
W good. Saul cameo.
Oh yeah.
All right. So I think we gotta wrap up pretty shortly, but hey, we have this is our first cast where the members requested the matchup. I think this goes to show that we will go fairly in depth with the characters. We will represent the characters you want to see us talk about.
Yeah.
You wanna really like get us to get into like the brass tacks and talk about a matchup you want to hear talk about? Hey, go to the Nebula Theater. This is the Nebula Theater. I keep thinking it's my channel. It's not. It's the Nebula Theater. Go to this channel you're currently on right now, and hit that membership. We will do what you want us to do.
Nothing more.
Can I advertise Fan Battle Cast? That's what I normally do at this point, but we're not on the Fan Battle Cast.
This was supposed to be a collaboration where your channel was linked, but I don't think we set that up right, so I'll get it set up.
Well, you can't really collaborate on a live stream is the problem. We can set it to be a collaboration once this is posted, but we just can't do it while it's live.
I've seen people do live streams collaborated before.
Well, then I don't know what I'm talking about then. I will try to learn how to do that if that's the case. I just thought you couldn't. So on the 23rd, we will be doing Asriel versus King Orange, a little Undertale versus animated versus animation action. I'll be arguing for Asriel. I have no idea what King Orange has, so this will be fun. On the 26th, we will be doing Gore versus Zamasu, where I am repping Gore, and I feel I will have a similar experience on that cast as I did on this cast. Yeah, and then eventually, I think on May 3rd, we want to do another bracket where me, Saul, and I believe Kai will also be on this one. Where if you saw a Santa bracket, it's where we're just more talking about the matchups in a loose sense and going super in depth in like a 16-round tournament. If you know Deadliest Warrior, we're going to be taking 16 of the winners from the Deadliest Warrior TV shows, specifically from the ones before Gunpowder was a thing. We're going to be putting them in a tournament. So we'll be having stuff like the Spartan versus the Samurai versus like the Apache and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be a fun time.
It'll be very fun.
Within the next 2 weeks, it's not fully scheduled yet, but me and Saul are also going to be debating either Gwen versus Subaru or Cortex versus Doofenshmirtz. We don't know which one we're going to do yet, though, but we're prepped for both.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
You have anything else you want to say, Plum, or are we wrapping it up?
No, this was fun.
All right. With that said, thanks for watching, everyone. Let us know what matchups y'all want to see. We'll be playing Smash Bros. In the near future with members. So that's fun. I'm trying to say just be a member. It's cool. We'll be seeing you later.